bit unusual capacity, or not the usual capacity of coordinator of the Smart Rural projects, but as coordinator of the Smart Village Network and E40. As you know, the Smart Rural projects have been completed, those who have been involved in those projects. But we are very active with the network, with Anita and Demeshe. We are trying to reactivate both the membership and the different kind of activities. And we are very, very pleased. We were so much looking forward to this specific event because if you remember, the smart cafes have been something very close to our heart during the Smart Rural project. And it's a bit similar format that we'd like to do here. But I would like to start with a very short introduction to where we are with the network, so that everybody sees the context before coming to the more exciting part of Ed talking about their village. So I promise I will be very, very short, but I thought it might be useful to do. So as many of you know, the network we started many years ago, back in 2018, with some enthusiastic villages, local action groups, village associations, generally interested in working with the smart villages concept. And already at that time, it has been an informal network. But then we've been busy over the last 4 years with the implementation and coordination of the two projects that were funded by the European Commission, so Smart Rural 21 and Smart Rural 27. And I see that many of you who are here have been involved in those, but those who are not and interested, please feel free to check the websites or follow up with us. And during that period, the network was there, and many network members were actually actively involved in the project as well. But we could devote less effort because it's a voluntary work on our behalf to animate that network. So it's not an EU-funded initiative. There is actually no funding, public funding in that one. So we are kind of in this period investing in the process because we see a lot of energy from you, from the network members, from other stakeholders who are interested in the whole process. So this is why after the Smart Rural project, we didn't want this energy that the projects generated die off or settle down, and that's why we started to re-energize the Smart Village network. Basically, we are E40 acts as the Smart Village Network services. And in the policy area, we are also part of the Rural Pact community, and more specifically, the Rural Pact coordination group. So that's just a very short history of the network. And so the network, as many of you know, has been set up as an informal networking process. We didn't want to formalize it too much at this stage, also not in terms of legal format. But the idea has been that it really should be led by the needs of the villages, who are our core members, in the network. And Anita, you need to help me out here because you sent me the exact number, but what's the precise number of membership?
So at the moment, it's 49 members. And from the 49 members, we have approximately 30 municipalities, and the rest is like village groups or legs or associations.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So this is where we are, which means that these are members who actively indicated to us that they would like to be members of the network and sent the relevant form. And as Anita said, the core part is still the local communities, the rural local communities. But at the same time, we engage also leader legs, village groups, and village networks, because often they are the intermediaries or those who can help communities, especially if there are language issues, to get more engaged. And this is the last bit, just to tell you what we are active with right now. So firstly, we are almost in the process of activating the database. It's at the final development phase, which will be a searchable database of villages. And it's got different sections on the challenges and solutions of the communities, which could be searched later on, so that you can find each other, the members can find each other, as well as others interested can see which kind of villages and who is in the network. And we are also working, but it will be first tested probably with a smaller group to see how it works with the Smart Village Network app, which is a dedicated communication platform of the network. And where we are now, that we really plan to organize some inspiring online sessions like this one, but also maybe some debates. So the Smart Village Café is one format, but we are thinking of another format to focus on specific topics and generate some discussions and debates around those. And probably in 2025, we will start to organize face-to-face meetings as well, which could be a bit like cross visits or visits to different kind of member villages who could inspire you. And we are also active in terms of helping communities to access funding, and especially we are active in the European kind of funding streams, and we are in the process of planning different kind of applications. And you are more than welcome to contact us if you see any opportunities in this one, but we already started that process as well. And last but not least, we are very active in the policy context. As you could see, we sent out the draft declaration or the declaration of the Rural Pact Coordination Group, for instance, which is about the future EU policy, but we try to get involved. So those who are interested in following that work, they are more than welcome as well. So this is where we are in a nutshell, but now coming to the more exciting part, I think we are very, very happy that Ed Vlems accepted this invitation, and hopefully many other villages and members will do in the future. So we ourselves have been very inspired by Boekel Ecovillage in the Netherlands, and that's what Ed will present to us. And the format is the usual, so we will hear a nice presentation from Ed, and then it will be free discussion as long as you'd like or available, or you have questions. You can already comment in the chat as well while Ed is presenting, but we won't interrupt him. And after some 20 minutes, we will have a discussion. So feel free to comment, but we would prefer later on that you speak up yourselves. So with this, I would like to pass it to Ed to make his presentation.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Ed Vlems, initiator of Boekel Ecovillage. I will share my presentation. Yeah. Okay. Boekel Ecovillage is in the south of the Netherlands, in a small town of 11,000 inhabitants, and we have 36 houses. We've built them. Our goal is to be an inspiring example of sustainable living, and also a living lab for sustainable innovations. Now, why did we want this? Around the year 2000, I worked at a nature conservation organization, and we worked a lot with the United Nations. And in 2003, we got an email from the UN that in Chile, a river had dried up because the glacier had melted. And the entire province got empty. So 500,000 people moved outside of the province. And 5 years later, I got a son, and a report of the United Nations came out that all glaciers were melting worldwide. So I said to my wife, if all of these glaciers are going to melt, then all of these people, and the rivers are going to dry up, then all of these people want to move. So we are going to be in big trouble as a species. So I think we have to live more sustainable and do it in a way that others want to live so too. And fortunately, my wife agreed with that, so otherwise I wouldn't have been here. And we made a website in which we said we want to grow our own food, build our own houses, generate our own energy and store it. And within 3 months, 100 people said, okay, we also want to live like that. The reason why it's so important to build and to live carbon negative is because there hasn't been so much carbon in the atmosphere since the Pleistocene. And at that time, the sea level was about 70 meters higher than it is now. And my country will be flooded by the sea if that happens. So it's very important that we stop with the output of carbon. Unfortunately, people are stupid, so we don't do that. We still produce, last year was the top of carbon output all over the world. So we still keep doing that, and we should be stopping with doing that. The building sector is responsible for 1/3 of that. And in the Netherlands, we're going to build 1 million houses in the coming 10 years. And if we do that with regular building materials like bricks and concrete, we're going to output 26 megatons of carbon. If we do the same thing with bio-based houses, then we are going to store 35 megaton carbon. So it's better if you build with bio-based materials. Now, not only is our eco-village climate positive, it's also climate resilient. So we designed our houses and our area to be resistant to weather extremes. Almost all. We didn't completely succeed because of money. We got 3 sustainable building awards in 1 year when we finished. And the year after, we got the SDG award for SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, which is a European award. And we got these awards, according to the judges, because of our exceptional integral design. One example of that is that we have we have a lot of elements, and all of these elements have multiple functions. So, for instance, a green roof is good for your health because it captures fine particles. It's also good to store rain when there's excessive rain. And it's also good for energy because if it's hot, then the solar panels will generate more energy if there is a green roof behind it to cool it down. So it has a number of functions for just one element. Now, one of our major projects we participated in was a project Ecovillage Resilience to prepare eco-villages worldwide to a global warming of 2.5 degrees or more. And I think that's particularly interesting for our network here. At the end, one of the output was a community resilience tracker. It has 6 themes, of which 6 questions, about 6 questions are asked, and then you get to score how high you score with that. I'm going to show the themes at least, and one of the questions. Diversity is one. Diversity provides the ability to respond in diverse ways to systemic change and shocks. Redundancy makes sure that there are multiple ways to ensure that you have for instance, water or food or income, and therefore you have more of an insurance and less points of failure, or more points of failure. One of the questions is this. I have it as an example because we scored high in that, so then you can learn more from it. Is the energy redundancy. To produce more diverse resources of sources of general renewable energy. We have a central heating system. I'm going to explain how that works later on, but there's a central heating system. If that doesn't work, in each circle of 12 houses in the technical room, there's a small boiler that heats up with an electrical heating element. So that's our backup system that has worked already for 3 years now. If that doesn't work, we have very well insulated houses. And if your house is very well insulated, your body heat becomes part of the heating system. And if we open the curtains when the sun shines, then that is our primary heating system, because then even our heating system doesn't work anymore because the sun is so powerful. One of the other themes, the third one, I think, is balancing connectivity. Connectivity can enhance resilience. System feedbacks are important because if there is a problem and you have a feedback system, you can spot it before it gets to be a big problem. Inclusivity and equity is important because equal societies are less prone to instability and conflict. And the last one is adaptive learning, the ability to detect changes and then to adapt to that. There's also a follow-up project that's going to start, I think, in a week or the week after that, in which the projects who participated in the last project are going to share their information that they have found out with the region that they're in. And that's one of the reasons why I'm talking here, is because I don't want to limit myself to the region that I'm in, but I also want to help you guys and girls to become more resilient, to learn from what we have learned. Well, also the government has an interest in us being a living lab. We applied for a grant. We applied for somewhat more than 1 million for a grant, and they sorted all 24 projects that applied for that grant in that year in order of potential impact, and we were number 1. And that was mainly because of the heating system. But they said, you have so many innovations that you test out, you can apply for the largest amount of the grant, which was 2.5 million. So we just got 1.4 million for free just because we had so many innovations that we tested. The province also invested in us. They gave us a loan of 1.2 million. And when someone asked the alderman why he invested so much money in our project, he said, the way the people in Boekel Ecovillage live in 2022, we want the rest of our province to live in 2050. So for us, Boekel Ecovillage is a living lab and a showroom. We have a food forest that is climate proof. This picture is of 1 year plants, but we also have a lot of trees and shrubs. I think we have 120 different types of fruit and nut trees and shrubs. So that's important because climate extremes will become more and more, and if there's a long drought, the level of water in the soil will, the groundwater level will drop, but trees and bushes will still find a way to that level. And if you have small roots as a plant, it's much more difficult. So we should have more food forests in our area. Our water plan is made together with experts, innovation experts from the water board and from a water company, our water company. When it rains, it falls on the roof and it is collected into large tanks. Per circle of 12 houses, we have 30,000 liters of water stored in big tanks under the ground. And we use them to flush the toilet and for the washing machines and the gardens. and the rest is from our water company. That's for drinking water and for showering. All the wastewater, we clean it ourselves in a halophyte filter. And afterwards, when it's cleaned, it infiltrates into the soil. So when there's a long drought, when it doesn't rain for a month, we still infiltrate about 2,000 liters of water each day into the soil. So that's good for nature and for our food forest. I promised to tell you about our heating system, which is quite unique. It's never been made before. We have 600 solar panels on the roofs of our houses, and they are not connected to the grid, but they are connected to a cylinder of 11 meters wide and 4 meters high that is filled with steel waste, and there are steel pipes in it, and the power of the 600 solar panels goes through the steel pipes. There's 16 layers of it, and the pipes heat up because it's like a light bulb, and the whole steel waste cylinder of 400 cubic meters will heat up to 450 degrees at the end of the summer. And when we first use the heating system in our houses in September, October, then air is being blown through with a ventilator through these pipes. It heats up, and then it goes through a boiler of 6,000 liters water that heats up to 70 degrees Celsius. And 3 times per day, it pumps warm water to smaller cylinders, smaller boilers, I mean, for a half an hour to heat our houses. So we don't have an electricity bill when it works. It still hasn't worked. It's because of an innovation, something can go wrong, and it did in this case, but I'll tell you when you question me about it. But if it works, it should mean that we don't have an electricity bill to heat our houses. We got the circular building or the circular building awards because of that. We have a very high percentage of circular materials that were made from waste. Here you can see glass foam as our foundation, and on top of that is an alternative to concrete, which is called geopolymer, and all of these things are made from waste. And 4 building magazines and also one of the ministries wrote an article, a big article of 2-3 pages in their magazines, because it was so unique that there was an alternative for concrete. Concrete is responsible for, or cement is responsible for 8% of all carbon output in the world. And the rest of our houses are bio-based. We have timber construction houses, almost all bio-based houses have them. And our outer walls are made of hempcrete, and our inner walls are insulated with what is formerly jeans. So they are made into an insulation material. And our roof is insulated with flax. Together, all these materials store 808 tons of carbon. And the oldest hempcrete building in the world is 300 years old. So it can store it for a very long time if you take good care of it. We try to collect all the practical solutions that we use in our houses and in our gardens and share them with the Ecovillage network, and hopefully also with the Smart Village network, and then share them with the world. So everyone, these are practical solutions that you can do in your own garden, your own house, and your own community. For instance, how to make a wadi, how to make a natural green roof, how to make shade in your garden, how to make a healthy soil, things like that. And you can also add to that if you're have experience with a system that can make people more resilient in their own area. The website is called globalgoalscommunity.eu. You can visit it and see what's there. I'm still going to apply new methods or new plans, how we did that. These are very easy step-by-step plans. The way we governance our eco-village is by holarchy. In holarchy, the organization is divided into circles. The big circle is of the total organization. And the big circle, the organization always has a goal. In our case, that's an inspiring example of sustainable living in connection. And there are a number of work groups or circles in it that all have goals for themselves, and these goals need to be supportive to the main goal of the organization. Now, for the public relations circle, its goal is to inspire to sustainable living in connection. And there are much more than this in roles in that circle, but I've picked out 3, and all of these have a goal of themselves. For instance, for a challenge coordinator is to apply for a challenge so that you can show your project, and that the judge will see what's new and how you did things, and also get more publicity if you win. So it's supportive to the goal of the circle, and it's also supportive to the main goal. Now, all of these circles are a sensor to what happens in the organization and what happens outside of the organization that might be important. And they can express their concerns, if they have them, in the meetings. Each meeting, the most important part of the meeting is called the tension part. And attention is the difference between the present, the current situation, and the desired goal. And someone who has a function can say, okay, I have attention. And the facilitator is going to ask each one by one, what their biggest tension is. And once the circle is done, the facilitator asks, okay, what is your next big tension? And the circle goes around, and all these tensions are noted. And that is the agenda for the rest of the meeting. And then the first one is going to say, okay, my tension is this and this and this. And then all of the people who are there are going to design a plan to get this person to the desired goal. And it has to be an action, starting at least with one action. Call that person, talk to that person, look this up, because then the people who have the tension can easily start with it. And so at the end of each agenda point is always the question of the facilitator, does this solve your tension? And if the answer is yes, we go to the next tension. So at the end of the meeting, you have for every tension, you have a plan, which always supports the primary goal of the circle. And you have people without tension, because they came to the meeting and with tensions and they leave without. And I've seen, mostly on a monthly basis, that people come in, or a weekly basis even, the people come in, they say, okay, I've had a very hard day and I'm troubled and I have a headache. And at the end of the meeting, the headaches are gone. And that is because they came in with tensions in their head and now they know what to do. Our financial structure or our organizational structure is, we only have social rent houses, and we are connected to Vrijkoop. And Vrijkoop is an organization, well, I talked about that later. We have 2 associations, a real estate association, which is the owner of the houses and the ground. And they have the mortgage and all the loans and things like that. And that has two members. One of it is the Inhabitant Association, and everyone is member of that. And everybody sends their rent to the Inhabitants Association, and the Inhabitants Association sends the total rent 2 days later to the Real Estate Association. And then they pay off the bank and things like that. The other member is Vrijkoop, and Vrijkoop is only a controlling member. It's not there every meeting, only when there's a very important subject. For instance, if the Real Estate Association wants to sell houses, because one of the main goals of Vrijkoop is to make sure that houses are not speculated with, so that their houses cannot be sold and made a profit of. The other one goal of Vrijkoop is to make sure that all rental income that is left after the bank is being paid off, and there is a small fund for maintenance, all that what remains is used to finance starting communities. Now, we are a sister of the Mietshuizen Syndicaat, a little sister, because the Mietshuizen Syndicaat has lived since 2092. It has about more than 200 members, all communities, and they have about 300 million in real estate amongst them. Vrijkoop is only 5 years old. It has only 5 members and about 16 million of real estate value. When after 30 years, we can invest each year 300,000 euros to starting communities. And in the Mietshuizen Syndicaat, they already exist for more than 30 years. So they have a lot of communities that already have paid off the bank. And their rental income goes to the starting communities. And in Germany, there are about 5 to 10 new communities per year. And they present themselves and they go home with 1 million, sometimes 1.5 million. That is a high-risk loan of other communities that are part of the Mietshuizen Syndicaat. And after 30 years, we're going to invest each year 300,000 euros per year. And if we do that in a 10-year loan, then after 10 years, we get back 300,000, but we also get the rental income of 300,000. So then we have 600,000 to lend to starting communities. 10 years later, we have 900,000. 10 years later, it's 1.2 million. And we are just, like the Mietshuizen Syndicaat, these are now 200 communities. So if they all have their rental income invested in starting communities, I think that in Germany, in 30 years, they won't need a bank anymore to if you start a new community. Now, Vrijkoop is in the Netherlands. Mietshuizen Syndicaat is the same one in Germany. Le Clip is in France, active. La Dynamo is in Spain, and Habitat is in Austria. So if you are close to these countries, you can ask them if you want to start up a thing like that. Ask them how to do that. We have a lot of networks that we work with, because if you want to be an inspiring example, it's important to connect with as much networks as you can. So these are all part of it. And that is already my presentation. I rushed through it, but there's a story behind each slide. So please give me all your questions and reactions.